Strange currents move through a person long before anyone notices. A silent pull, a subtle heaviness, a shadow that clings to thought and breath. Many call it negativity. In ancient temples we called it demonic poison, not a creature outside, but a disturbance inside. A distortion that twists clarity, weakens discipline, and turns peaceful minds into restless storms. Today, I reveal a truth rarely spoken beyond monastery walls. The purest teas are brewed without leaves, fire, or cups. They rise from inner practice. Each one clears a different toxin: fear, anger, illusion, or emotional turbulence. These are the true, holy teas. Our ancestors trained warriors to sense these poisons before they grew strong. A single flicker of envy, a quiet ripple of resentment, a quick surge of panic. Monks learned to trace these shadows to their source. All poisons come from the mind. None arrive from outside. This understanding shaped every discipline, every breath ritual, every path of mastery. In this journey, you will hear stories from old Shaolin halls, where young disciples learn to cleanse the spirit without a single herb. You will explore teachings hidden beneath everyday struggles, lesser-known lessons that reveal how subtle energies shape strength or weakness. And you will see how each internal tea restores clarity, steadiness, and power. Stay with me until the final moment, because the seventh tea holds a secret that transforms inner chaos into inner fire. It is the core of self-purification, and many wander through life without sensing it. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. Join our path, strengthen your spirit, and walk with awareness. Subscribe and let your training continue. Quiet moments often reveal the truth of a person. When everything outside grows loud, the breath exposes what lives inside. In the temple, the elders would say, if you wish to know the state of your mind, listen to the rhythm of your breathing. Some disciples laughed at the simplicity, until the storms within them grew too strong to ignore. I once trained beside a young monk who carried great potential but even greater anxiety. His movements were sharp, but his mind shook like a leaf in winter. During meditation, his breath rose fast, tight, uneven. One day, the master placed a single candle before him and said, "Keep the flame steady." Within seconds, it flickered wildly. His breath had betrayed him. Only then did he understand the meaning of the old saying, "When breath is wild, mind is wild." The tea of still breath is the first purification because it enters every corner of your being. Slow, steady breathing teaches the nervous system to release its grip. It dissolves the restlessness that the mind tries to hide. Each controlled inhale widens space inside the chest. Each gentle exhale washes out panic and the reflex to react without thinking. This practice is not dramatic, it is not loud, yet it has saved more warriors than any weapon. A monk who controls his breath controls his mind, and a mind under command cannot be thrown into chaos by fear or sudden emotion. Through this tea, you learn to soften tension before it becomes anger, to settle unease before it becomes panic, and to still reaction before it becomes regret. In Shaolin training, breath is not just air, it is discipline, it is awareness, it is self-mastery in its purest form. There is a moment in training when a student finally realizes that emotions are not enemies, they are simply visitors. Some arrive loudly, demanding attention. Others slip in quietly, hoping to take the mind without being noticed. But the ancient masters taught a different approach. Do not fight these emotions, and do not obey them. Simply watch. In the old monastery, a senior monk would often sit with the younger disciples as they struggled with anger, jealousy, or impatience. He never corrected the emotion itself. Instead, he would ask, who is feeling this and who is watching the one who feels? The question always confused them until they experienced a moment of true observation, a moment when the emotions surged, yet they remained untouched. This is the tea of observation, the second purification. It teaches that suffering begins not from the emotion itself, but from the identity we give it. When we say, "I am angry," we merge with the flame. When we say anger is present, we simply witness the fire from a safe distance. That distance is freedom. Warriors learned early that their downfall was rarely an opponent. It was their own reaction. A spike of envy could break their focus. A flash of resentment could poison their judgment. A whisper of comparison could drain their confidence. But when observed with calm awareness, these shadows lose their grip. They rise and dissolve. This tea is subtle but powerful. It strengthens the inner watcher, the silent self behind every thought and feeling. With practice, emotions pass through like clouds drifting across a mountain peak. They come, they go, and the mountain never moves. To see emotion without becoming it is to reclaim the mind. And once the mind is reclaimed, no inner demon can command your path. There is a kind of strength that cannot be heard, measured, or displayed. It reveals itself only in moments when the world expects you to explode, defend, or react instantly. In Shaolin halls, this strength was called silent power, a force that grows when the tongue stays still, when the breath stays calm, and when the mind refuses to be dragged into chaos. During training, young disciples often believed that speed and striking defined a warrior, but the elders watched something different. They observed who could remain unmoved when provoked, who could stay composed when insulted, who could hold their center when pressure tightened around them. These were the students who carried true mastery. Their silence was not weakness, it was the shield that no sword could pierce. Demonic poison, the kind that twists emotions, feeds on reaction. It wants you to answer anger with anger, insult with insult, fear with panic. Each reaction becomes nourishment for inner turmoil. But when a person chooses silence, the poison starves. It has nothing to push against, nothing to cling to, nothing to ignite. One master used to say, "Silence is the space where clarity grows. In that space, the body softens, the mind steadies, and the heart sees the truth behind the moment. What seemed urgent becomes small. What seemed insulting becomes irrelevant. What seemed threatening reveals its true nature, a fleeting spark that dies unless you blow on it." The tea of silence is not about avoiding life. It is about meeting life without losing yourself. Through non-reaction, emotional discipline forms naturally. Purity of mind follows, like clear water settling after being shaken. With practice, silence becomes more than an absence of words. It becomes a deep presence, a grounded awareness, an unshakable calm. Those who drink this tea learn to move through the world untouched by the chaos around them, guided instead by the quiet strength within. In the quiet hours before sunrise, the temple often echoed with a simple reminder passed from master to student. Guard your tongue, and your mind will guard itself. Many underestimated this teaching. They focused on perfecting their kicks, refining their forms, strengthening their bodies. But the elders knew that a single careless word could cause more damage than any strike. One evening, a young disciple approached his teacher, frustrated by constant conflict with others. He believed his temper was the problem. The master shook his head gently. "Your words," he said, "arrive before your temper does. They carry your storms." That night, the student began the deepest training of his life, not with movements, but with silence. The tea of right speech purifies the mind, because every word shapes the inner landscape long before it reaches another person. Gossip scatters energy. Lies fracture integrity. Harsh self-criticism poisons confidence. Even rushed speech pulls the mind into confusion. The moment the tongue loses discipline, the mind follows it into chaos. Ancient teachings called the tongue the first weapon to master, not because of its sharpness, but because of its influence. Words can lift or weaken, calm or inflame, heal or wound. When spoken slowly, with honesty and gentle intention, they create clarity within the speaker as well as the listener. A warrior who speaks with care carries a mind that is clean and steady. Thoughts become more organized, emotions settle more easily, and decisions rise from a place of intention rather than impulse. This is the quiet power of right speech. It aligns the inner world with truth. Through this tea, purity is not something achieved, it is something expressed. When speech becomes mindful, the mind transforms, and with each intentional word, the path of mastery becomes clearer, simpler, and far more peaceful. There was a season in the monastery when many young students struggled, not from lack of strength or effort, but from something far quieter, a drifting spirit. They trained hard, yet their energy scattered in every direction. One day, they wanted discipline. The next day, they wanted comfort. By the end of the week, they wanted something entirely different. The elders recognized this quickly: desire without direction. A senior monk once placed a bowl of water before a disciple who felt lost. He dipped his finger in and stirred it rapidly. "This is your mind when desire runs wild," he said. Then he let the water settle and its surface reflected the sky. "And this is your mind when intention guides you." The lesson stayed with the disciple for the rest of his life. The T of right intention is the practice that turns drifting desire into purposeful movement. It teaches that wanting something is not enough. The wanting must be shaped, anchored, and directed. Without intention, cravings become impulses. Impulses become habits, and habits become the inner poisons that cloud judgment and weaken resolve. Shaolin wisdom holds a simple truth: intention shapes energy, and energy shapes reality. When intention is unclear, energy leaks into distractions, fears, and unnecessary battles. But when intention is strong, even a small action becomes powerful. Every step carries weight. Every choice becomes aligned with a deeper purpose. This T is not about suppressing desire, it is about understanding it. When a person sits quietly and asks, "Why do I want this? What direction is it pulling me toward?" the mind begins to reorganize itself. Impulsive cravings transform into focused goals. Inner conflict softens. A sense of direction emerges. With right intention, life stops feeling like a storm and starts feeling like a path, one you can walk with steadiness, discipline, and clarity. There was a time when a young disciple clung tightly to every outcome, every test, every word of praise, every glance from his teachers. When things went his way, he felt powerful. When they didn't, his spirit collapsed. One afternoon, an elder handed him a handful of sand and told him to hold it. The boy squeezed with force, trying to keep every grain. But the harder he gripped, the faster the sand slipped away. The elder smiled softly. "This is how suffering begins," he said. "Grip too tightly, and life escapes you." The T of detachment is the lesson of the open hand. It teaches that control is an illusion we chase, and the chase itself becomes the poison. In Zen and Shaolin tradition, the root of suffering is not desire, but the grip we place around that desire. Expectations harden the mind. Fear of loss narrows the heart. Obsession drains energy until nothing remains but exhaustion. When expectations dissolve, disappointment loses its bite. When attachment fades, fear cannot anchor itself. And when the mind releases its grip on what it cannot shape, clarity naturally rises like mist lifting from a mountain. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means meeting life without desperation. It means giving your full effort without demanding a specific result. It means caring deeply, yet not chaining your peace to outcomes, people, or circumstances. Monks learned that a free mind is not empty, it is spacious. It can see clearly because nothing is clinging to its walls. From this spaciousness comes spiritual strength, the ability to stay steady when life shifts, to remain open when others close, to move with the flow instead of being shattered by it. Through this T, the heart becomes lighter, the mind becomes sharper, and the spirit learns to walk with freedom instead of fear. In the early mornings at the temple, long before the sun warmed the stone floors, there was a familiar sound, the quiet sweep of a broom. It belonged to a young disciple who struggled with self-doubt and scattered thoughts. His master had given him a simple task: sweep the courtyard every day at dawn. No instructions for speed, perfection, or spiritual insight, just consistency. Weeks passed, then months. The disciple grew frustrated. "How can sweeping teach me anything?" he asked. The master walked with him to the courtyard. "Look at the stones," he said. "They shine because of your daily effort. Now look at your mind. Do you see how it has begun to clear as well?" That day, the disciple understood the T of discipline. Discipline is the true holy T of warriors because it cleanses without drama. It dissolves laziness, not by force, but through repetition. It silences doubt, not with arguments, but with evidence, evidence that you can show up even when you don't feel like it. And it heals inner fragmentation by aligning thought, action, and intention into a single steady rhythm. Shaolin wisdom teaches that consistency shapes character more deeply than intensity. A single burst of effort can spark change, but only daily action sustains it. Small habits become threads that weave body, mind, and spirit into unity. When you repeat a practice long enough, it becomes part of your nature, quiet, reliable, unshakable. Discipline isn't rigid. It's a form of devotion, a commitment to your path, your purpose, and your higher self. And with every consistent action, every morning routine, every mindful step, every promise kept, you cleanse the inner slackness that weakens resolve. Over time, discipline becomes more than effort. It becomes identity, the steady heartbeat of a life built with intention, clarity, and inner strength. In the quiet halls of the monastery, the elders often spoke of a power hidden in softness. It is not the strength of muscle, nor the sharpness of skill, but the resilience that arises when the heart is open yet undisturbed. One young disciple struggled with anger. Every slight, every criticism ignited storms inside him. One day, the master handed him a small stone and asked him to carry it everywhere. At first, it felt heavy, burdensome, impossible to bear, but then he was asked to place it gently into the river, watching it float away. The lesson was simple: holding tightly breeds weight, releasing with care brings freedom. The tea of compassion works in the same way. Compassion softens the heart, but it does not weaken the spirit. Instead, it neutralizes the poisons of anger, envy, and ego, the three currents that disturb inner peace. When the mind ceases to cling to harm or resentment, it becomes a calm mirror, reflecting the world without distortion. A person who drinks this tea learns to see others clearly, without judgment, without expectation. Emotional conflicts that once chained the mind dissolve, leaving space for understanding, patience, and connection. In Shaolin practice, warriors were taught that the unshakable are not those who dominate others, but those who have mastered themselves. Their power flows not from opposition, but from harmony. Through compassion, strength is quiet but enduring. It allows a person to move through life without carrying internal battles, without letting small fires of emotion control decisions. The mind becomes spacious, the heart steady, and the spirit unwavering. This tea is subtle, invisible, yet transformative. It teaches that true mastery is not conquest of the world outside, but the cultivation of peace within, a peace that radiates outward, touching every step, every gesture, every thought. There comes a moment in training when a disciple stands alone before a mirror, not to see their face, but to see themselves. At first, it is uncomfortable. They notice tension in their shoulders, impatience in their eyes, shadows in their expression. Then the mind speaks quietly at first. I am not enough. I am weak. I do not deserve this path. The mirror reflects more than the body. It reflects every habit, every thought, every pattern that drains strength and scatters focus. The tea of inner truth is the courage to face that reflection without flinching. In Shaolin tradition, the most dangerous enemy is not a rival, not failure, not pain, but self-deception. It whispers that weakness is strength, that distraction is freedom, that avoidance is protection. Monks learn early that ignoring these voices only gives them power. Only by confronting them can the spirit be purified. Practicing this tea begins with honesty. Every excuse is observed. Every justification is questioned. Every hidden tendency is brought into the light. It is uncomfortable, even painful, because the mind resists exposure. But with time, each glimpse into truth dissolves fear, doubt, and illusion. Strength grows quietly in the gaps left by lies and self-denial. Shaolin elders would often say, the mind that hides cannot master. The heart that avoids cannot endure. True mastery comes when weaknesses are not ignored, but met with steady courage and disciplined awareness. This tea is subtle yet transformative. It does not impose change from outside. It reveals what is already there. Habits weaken, thoughts clarify, patterns straighten. The the spirit becomes clear, unburdened, and resilient. Those who drink deeply from this tea learn to move through the world with integrity, guided by the light of truth that shines steadily within, no matter what storms arise outside. The path of the 7 holy teas is a journey inward. Each practice, breath, observation, silence, right speech, right intention, detachment, compassion, and facing inner truth, purifies a different shadow within us. Fear softens, anger calms, attachment loosens, and clarity rises. Together, they align the mind, heart, and spirit, creating a quiet strength that no external force can shake. Shaolin wisdom reminds us that the greatest victory is not over others, but over the turmoil within. True mastery is born from daily practice, patience, and presence. By bringing these teas into your life, even in small, consistent ways, you begin to dissolve the inner poisons that cloud judgment, disturb peace, and fragment the soul. Carry this knowledge gently into your day. Breathe with awareness, speak with care, observe without judgment. Let go of what you cannot control. Show compassion and meet yourself with honesty. Each small step is a sip from the cup of mastery. May your mind grow calm, your heart grow open, and your spirit find its quiet strength. Let these teachings guide you toward harmony, clarity, and inner freedom. If this journey resonates with you, join our path at Shaolin Soulfire. Like this video, subscribe, and walk with us as we explore the wisdom of the ancients and the power within.